Is urging last-minute settlement talks between the league, the players' union, and Tom Brady. Meanwhile, NFL media is reporting that Commissioner Roger Goodell and Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel will have a joint news conference later today, presumably to announce that the NFL draft will return to Chicago again next year. The NFL owners are meeting today in Chicago. Chargers and Raiders making their pitch to build a $1.75 billion stadium in the LA area city of Carson, California. While St. Louis Rams owner Stan Kroenke making his own presentation on plans for a $1.86 billion stadium in nearby Inglewood, California. In other NFL news, according to multiple reports, the Arizona Cardinals are in talks with former Titans running back Chris Johnson on a one-year deal. I'm Deb Carson.
We are Sports.
So, Bob Costas, he does not think Caitlyn Jenner should be honored with the Arthur Ashe Courage Award at the ESPYs, because it strikes him as a, quote, crass exploitation play, a tabloid play. He said, in the broad world of sports, it's funny because Caitlyn's a broad now. I wonder if that's what, probably not. Okay. In the broad world of sports, from here on in, I'm not going to be able to, from here on in, I'm not going to be able to think of any sort of women's sports as being women's sports. I'm just going to be like, right now the Broads World Cup is going on. In Broads basketball. Anywho. Back to the... Remember when we used to be a serious news show, Funkhauser? Maybe we should try that again sometime. Nah, well, it's serious-ish. Occasionally. Anyways, in the broad world of, thank you. In the broad world of sports, I'm pretty sure they could have found someone who was much closer to being actively involved in sports who would have been deserving of what that award represents. That's not to say that it doesn't, in some measure that it doesn't take some measure of personal courage to do what Caitlyn Jenner has done. But it feels like, let's buy into the keeping up with the Kardashians culture that has overtaken a good part of the landscape. Yeah, it's not a bad argument. It's not a bad argument. It would be better, Bob Costas, and you think you'd have the foresight to see this, it would be better if the ESPYs didn't have a history of straying from people closer to being actively involved in sports. In addition to other retired sports figures, who else has won the award? Nelson Mandela. Yeah, Nelson Mandela won it. He won the award. Robin Roberts won it. 3 survivors of the September 11th terrorist attacks, and a hero who died trying to save students in the Columbine shooting. So, yeah. Obviously, a Kardashian pales in comparison to these people, but on the other hand, there was a time when Bruce Jenner was arguably the biggest athlete in America. Now, I don't think he's being awarded for courage during the Wheaties box portion of his career. I mean, this is clearly saying, hey, it took a measure of personal courage to transition publicly from male to female, and therefore we're giving you this award. Does he deserve an award for courage? Compared to a lot of the other folks that have had their name in the hopper for this particular award? No, I don't think that she does. I don't think that, no, definitely not. Look, and I'm not one of those people that is like, what Caitlyn Jenner did isn't courageous. Being a first responder, a member of our military, that's courageous. The two things have nothing to do with each other. It's different types of courage. And no, I don't think Caitlyn Jenner is as courageous as a soldier or a fireman. But it's not like they have an exclusive on the concept of courage. Courage comes in many shapes and forms.
It's just one of those days, can't get out of bed. Everything's wrong, can't get right in the head. Too drunk for a shrink, the pills ain't no good. They're just not working the way that they should. All this coffee, it just makes me shake. And everything I try to do is a mistake. And everything I know is wrong or gone. And as the days just fall away, you wonder, will it always be this way? And what is really left you can believe in?
the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio.
Every day you're going and working, running that rat race at that pace and that place will leave a bad taste for anyone, everyone working down.
So, it's kind of interesting. You know how yesterday we were pointing out the fact that swearing undying political allegiance to a party, left, right, center, up, down, whatever the case may be, swearing your undying allegiance to a party, well, it might not necessarily be the most prudent move, only because what passes for a party can change. And if you recall yesterday, we were talking about the fact that John F. Kennedy had a problem when he was running for president just one generation ago. When my father was voting, one generation ago, when my father was voting for the first time, Kennedy was the potential candidate. And Kennedy had the big problem of, well, gee whiz, I'm a Democrat. I'm running on the Democratic ticket. Yet, most black voters associate the Democratic Party with robe-wearing Klansmen in the Deep South that want to burn crosses and hang people like me by my neck from a tree. Democrat meant Southern lynch mob to black voters just one generation ago. Which is why it is borderline pointless swearing lifelong allegiance to any particular party, because look what can happen in just one lifetime. The meaning of that party's name can change utterly, completely, on a dime. 360 degrees. Wait, is that full circle? I don't know. Whatever the opposite of the way you were going in the first time was. And something very interesting happened in Maine a little while ago that's a perfect illustration of this. Remember when they started taking away food stamps from people that wouldn't volunteer for work in this Republican, in the state with a Republican governor? What does that say about them? We'll get to that shortly. Thank you so much for hanging out.
iHeartRadio shines the spotlight on Led Zeppelin.
Due to the heavy guitar-driven blues rock sound of their first two albums, Led Zeppelin are frequently recognized as the progenitors of heavy metal. However, the band's unique style drew from a wide variety of influences, including folk music. The group's later albums saw greater experimentation and were accompanied by record-breaking tours that earned the band a reputation for excess and debauchery. Rolling Stone magazine described them as the heaviest band of all time, the biggest band of the 70s, and unquestionably one of the most enduring bands in rock history. Keep listening to iHeartRadio for the next chapter of Led Zeppelin. If you can't wait, get more at iHeartRadio.com. Keyword Led Zeppelin.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Bob Seger to discuss his favorite process for developing new songs.
The way I do it, I sing into an ADAT machine, which has about 40 minutes. I might fill up 2 or 3 of them. Then I just go away, come back the next day, and listen to what I did. If there's nothing there, I start again. But I might hear one chord change. I might hear one thing I mumbled lyrically and say, oh, I never even caught that when I did it. You know, it's like just totally a free-form thing, almost a jazz thing. And sooner or later, you know, a structure, a chord structure, or a phrase, or the way I sang something jumps out at me, and it becomes the germ for a song, you know? And that's really fun.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Bob Seger and all your favorite artists.
Like most kids from a privileged white upper-middle-class suburban background, for a significant portion of his childhood, he was pretty convinced he was down. AD on the radio.
Yeah, let's go. Talking that mess, better act like you know. Let's go tonight. Walk away, punk, yeah, bitch. That's right, I know this. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. So walk away, yeah.
So if you're just joining us, we were talking a little bit about the meaningless in the names of political parties, one way or another. And we talked about the fact that, well, JFK, when he was running for president, he had a hard time getting elected because he was a Democrat and he needed the black vote. And black people traditionally back then wouldn't have voted for a Democrat because being a Democrat, that was synonymous with being a Klansman in the Deep South that would just as soon string you up by your neck after having burned a cross in your yard. So he had to cozy up to Martin Luther King to get that nomination. And from there on in, the shape and the perception of the Democratic Party started to change. But you see how radically the meaning behind a name that people swear lifelong allegiance to can turn on its heels and go in opposite direction. So if you swear undying allegiance to one party, well, bear in mind that in just a few short years, that party could mean something very, very different. Those company lines are not so quickly towed. They just want you to believe they are. You might feel allegiances to the left or the right, but as we come up on an election in 2016, that has a certain amount of weight and significance to it. I encourage you, no matter what you've believed you are in the past, to make potential presidential candidates work for your vote, work for your confidence, and prove why they speak to you, regardless of what party they happen to be in. It's like what happened up in Maine. Republican Governor Paul LePage, I don't know, however the hell he pronounced his last name, recently started enforcing Maine's volunteer and work requirements for food stamp SNAP recipients to keep their benefits. The end result was more than 9,000 non-disabled adults getting dropped from the program. Now, the way this works is the rules prevent adults who are not disabled and do not have dependents from receiving food stamps for more than 3 months unless they work at least 20 hours a week or participate in a work training program or meet volunteer guidelines for 24 hours out of the month. Any of these three not getting met will result in the loss of their SNAP food benefits. Let me emphasize, the least difficult of those three, the least difficult option to keep your food stamps, the least difficult option of those three in Maine now is fulfilling an approved volunteer workload of 24 hours out of the entire month. The hardest out of all of those is doing at least 20 hours of job work per week. Only volunteering 24 hours per month is a really good deal to receive hundreds of dollars of free food. The average SNAP monthly benefit is like $477 for a 4-person household. In most cases, it's significantly more. So for 24 hours of volunteer work, you can make close to $20 an hour. $19.91 is what it works out to. Not bad. So in Maine, 9,000 able-bodied people who are too poor, allegedly, to feed themselves couldn't handle that. Even more of a drastic measure, people in Maine who lose their benefits in such a manner can't regain assistance for 3 years. So you don't comply, you're going to lose your benefits for 3 years. What is this doing? It's an interesting one. It's getting rid of a sense of government dependence. And the idea of government dependence has been sold so well that even the idea of doing 24 hours of volunteer work a month is too much for more than 9,000 people. Now, it's funny because I heard about this and I asked all my friends, left, right, middle, far right, far left, if they thought it was okay. I was like, hey, bearing in mind that potentially your tax dollars are going to pay to feed people, let's assume for a second that the people that are getting food stamps, getting income support in some sort of way, let's assume that they don't have kids, they don't have dependents, and they're able-bodied. Do you think it's fair to say, all right, if you're going to get these benefits, if you're going to get free food, we're going to require you to volunteer, give something back to the community that's supporting you, or get this, get job training. Job training. Essentially the equivalent of going to a trade school for free while someone else pays your food bill. Or you can work a job that we give you. I couldn't find a single person, regardless of political position, I couldn't find a single person that, regardless of political position, thought this was a bad idea. government dependence, looking for handouts, looking to not do anything with your life while somebody else pays the bill. Everybody I know agrees that's a lousy thing, regardless of what they're registered as politically speaking. I mean, could you think of one downside to saying, hey, while you're getting all the free food, as long as you're not disabled, as long as you don't have kids that you have to be home for, as long as you don't have any of those things, we're going to give you job training so you can get back into the workforce. You're going to be able to, you're going to be able to get a job, and then you're going to be able to support yourself, and you're going to have new skills. You're going to be more employable, and, it's good for your head. Sitting there doing nothing, oof, that's no good. You got to get up, got to get out, got to shave, got to go to work, got to put on some clothes, got to bathe. I don't know about you, but during my periods of time where I didn't have to leave the house, it did a weird number on my head. It really, really did. And I was working from home. I was doing all this work for Sirius XM, and I had a studio built in the home, and I never had to leave the house for the better part of a year. And it messed with my effing head, man. And I'm not saying that other people aren't a little bit more together in their ways of thinking as they go through life, but I think it's a good idea. We're going to give you free food. Get up, get out, do something. Get back to the community. Do volunteer work, or get free job training to make you more employable. Essentially, go to a trade school while somebody else foots the bill. Not bad. So, and if you can think of a reason why any of this wouldn't work or is a bad idea, I'd love to know. Tweet me at ADSXE, or you can tweet Super Producer to the Stars, Barry Funkhauser. Concept 714 is in the studio today here with us. Where can people tweet you, Concept? At Wake the Flock Up with a K, right?
That's right. At Wake the Flock Up. Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff.
So, you're a hardworking individual. Not only do you have the #1 hip-hop podcast in the world, but you also have a day job. You got a wife. You got a kid. You hustle. You are on that grind, as our friends in the hip-hop community would say. Can you think of a single reason why, all right, someone's on food stamps, someone's on some sort of public assistance. Can you think of a single reason why, outside disability, outside of having kids that you have to stay home and take care of, that's off the table? Can you think of a single reason why a person shouldn't have to either A, get job training, B, do some sort of volunteer work, or C, do some sort of government work? Bear in mind, it's 24 hours of work a month to get food stamps. Can you think of a single reason why that would be a bad idea?
If you are a fully capable adult, I see no reason why.
Yeah.
It is,
and bear in mind that it's your tax dollars. Not to be putting words in your mouth, but bear in mind that it is your tax dollars that are going to pay to feed these people. So wouldn't you then like to think, okay, they're volunteering and putting something back into the community for the money that Uncle Scam skims off of my check every single month to give to them? Wouldn't that also make you feel a little bit better?
It's part of the social contract, really, which is like, okay, I'm going to provide and invest into society, the society I've agreed to live in and use the roads of and public transportation of and all this good stuff. And I will do my part. If you're down on your luck, right, I understand it. Some people aren't as capable or able to, maintain a full-time job for whatever reason. I get it. That's what it's for, right? But I think you're really kind of being more specific to the people there. It's so easy to abuse that a lot of them do. And when you're asking for requirements like, hey, work 24 hours a week.
No,
dude,
a month.
A month. Dude, I just work 20 hours in the weekend. Yeah. So don't give me this, oh, I'm not able to, I can't find it. And they're like, oh, and we'll train you how to do it. And it comes to a point like if they argue, we'll train you how to do it. Oh, I don't want to learn. Okay, well then you don't deserve this money. You're not looking to advance out of this situation you're in.
Yeah, I like the way you described it as a social contract, and it does seem like a bit of a win-win. But now what's interesting to me is this happened on the watch of a Republican governor in Maine. Yeah. And furthering the idea that names of political parties are virtually meaningless. Like I said, I can't find anybody that thinks this is a bad idea. It's a win-win situation for everybody involved. The taxpayer, the government, the person getting the free cheese. It's a win for everybody when you look at it in that way. But what it does, and it's amazing that this came from a Republican government. What it does is it smacks of socialism. It really does. If you can't find job, government will provide one for you. We train you in profession of choice. We require this. We train you as this. It's a crazy, crazy thing. Again, it absolutely 100 million% smacks of Scandinavian, even Soviet socialism. It's crazy, yet it's been put in place by a Republican governor. See, sometimes ideas aren't right. Sometimes ideas aren't left. Sometimes ideas are just common sense. And it is that resolute clinging to what the right or the left or whatever political party you're subscribed to. It is that resolute blind clinging to the ideology that doesn't even exist of whatever you're subscribed to that stops ideas from being put into place. Now, thankfully, in Maine, this has worked, this has passed, and it's going on. But it's not a done deal all over America. Why? Because people go, no, that kind of smacks of socialism. Wouldn't you agree? Politics makes strange bedfellows. It really, really does. Here's something that it's put forward by a Republican governor. Something that's put forward by a Republican governor that is fully endorsed by Republicans, because Republicans are like, hey, no free rides. So they're happily endorsing something that is basically flying a humongous socialist flag. Or is it? Or is it just a really, really good idea? Is it fair? Don't let the party you subscribe to dictate how you think and stop you from embracing an idea, no matter what party it's associated with. Be your own person, think your own thoughts, and find your own answer. And don't cut yourself off from doing some really great things or supporting some really great things just because it doesn't fall into the specific cookie cutter that you've been told represents your beliefs. All righty then. Let's get into some news, shall we? We have our guest newsreader in the studio today, Concept 714. Concept 714, how was your weekend besides the fact that you worked 20 hours of it?
Oh, besides that fact, amazing. How much complaining can I do? Look, I take pride in work. Like, I like to work. When I don't feel useful and meaningful, that's why people live longer that retire later in life. People that retire early die early because your purpose as just this society and as an individual per se, as in work wise is gone. So now you're waking up to what? I'm going to rest. I'm going to wake up from sleeping to catch a nap. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? I enjoy it. I think I love working. I love the feeling of accomplishment and bringing home a paycheck well earned. Like, I don't know about getting my clothes dirty and working, It's a sense of pride for people. I don't understand it.
Well, there is really... Look, that idea of having a sense of your place in the world, like, hey, this is my little part that I do that helps make the world go around. This is my contribution to society. That's something that is often overlooked. And a lot of people think their work isn't meaningful unless they're designing space shuttles or unless they're designing buildings like we found out Funkhauser does the other day. Yeah. No, I decided to toss in my career as an architect to be a talk radio producer. True story, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. The man has several buildings that he designed standing. They're real things in this world. He made them happen. But even if you're not doing something huge and lofty like Funkhauser did, where you build and design buildings, everybody that's doing anything, whether you love doing it or not, you're making a contribution to society and you're helping the world go around. So on days where you hate your miserable job, and, we all have those, no matter what it is we're doing, you can take a little solace in the fact that, hey, I'm helping to make the world go around. I'm fulfilling my side of the social contract, as Concept put it. And it's a good way to look at life. I like that. The social contract. Good stuff. We'll get into the news directly. Kylie Jenner made a donation to what?
Try and make up for all the wrongs I did by living my life like a Cosby kid, jamming on the one like Theo and Stevie. I know it's how
USA Headline News. I'm Kelly Sloan. 24 people were arrested in Ferguson, Missouri last night during protests marking the 1-year anniversary of the Michael Brown shooting.
No justice, you don't get no peace. We don't get no justice.
No shots were fired, and police say there was no property damage. A verdict is expected soon from Tehran in the espionage trial of Washington Post reporter Jason Rezaian. His family says he is innocent and he has been treated harshly. Brother Ali Rezaian spoke to Fox News this morning.
You know, right now he's been really kind of abandoned there. He's been locked up, isolated, doesn't see people for weeks on end sometimes until they come and they tell him, okay, we're taking you now to the court.
And the Obama administration is being criticized for not making Rezaian's release, along with 3 other Americans being held in Iran, as part of the nuclear agreement with Tehran. This is USA Headline News.
There are 2 types of water heaters, thankless and tankless. The thankless kind work like this.
Mom, I'm throwing in a load of laundry.
Whoa, hold off on that. I'm hopping in the shower.
Is this a good time to turn on the dishwasher?
This is not a good time to turn on the dishwasher.
Renai's tankless water heaters, on the other hand, work this way.
I'm throwing in a load of laundry.
No problem. I'm hopping in the shower.
Renai's innovative tankless water heaters provide an endless supply of hot water whenever you need it, even for multiple tasks at the same time. Plus, they feature a space-saving design and ultra-efficient performance for monthly energy savings. So enjoy hot water that's always ready when you are.
Is this a good time to turn on the dishwasher?
Go for it.
And never discourage your children from washing dishes again. Renai tankless water heaters, the hot way to heat water. Learn more about Renai's industry-leading products at www.renai.us. That's RINNAI.us.
Trending. It was all Johnny Cueto and the Kansas City Royals against Detroit.
Here comes the 0-2 pitch, and a swing and a miss. Cueto came upstairs and strikes out Kinsler for the second time.
Complete game gem for Cueto. 4-0 shutout delivered by him. He had 8 strikeouts in that victory. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, it was all road team in this one.
Swung on, hit deep down the left field line toward the corner. If it stays fair, this one will be gone. Gone. Goodbye. It's a 2-run homer for Ian Desmond. The Nationals lead 2-0.
They're keeping pace with the Mets on the Nationals radio network as they beat down LA 8-3. Gio Gonzalez got the victory. Mets double up the Rockies 4-2 as the D-backs 13. Phillies 3. Orioles are now 4.5 games back of the AL East lead after beating the Mariners 3-2 in the National Football League. Steve Smith says this will be his final season in the National Football League. I'm David Gascon.
We are Fox Sports. iHeartRadio puts the spotlight on U2. U2 was formed in Dublin, Ireland in 1976 after a 14-year-old student, Larry Mullen Jr., advertised on his school's bulletin board for musicians for a new band. The initial lineup was Mullen on drums, Paul Hewson, a.k.a. Bono, on vocals, David Evans, a.k.a. The Edge, and his older brother Dick Evans on guitar, and Adam Clayton, a friend of the Evans brothers, on bass guitar. The group originally took the name Feedback because it was one of the few technical terms they knew, and began performing concerts of mostly cover songs. They changed their name to The Hype in 1977, and when Dick Evans dropped out in 78, the remaining quartet settled on the name U2. On St. Patrick's Day 1978, U2 won a talent show in Limerick, winning £500 and studio time to record a demo for a major record label. They recorded their demo later that year and released their first EP, 3, in Ireland in 1979. They signed to a major label and released their first album, Boy, in 1980. The song I Will Follow gave them their first success in the U.S., peaking at number 20 on the mainstream rock charts. All things U2. Info, music, and more are on iHeartRadio. Keyword U2.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Mike Rutherford to talk about why he felt the documentary Genesis, Sum of the Parts, was worthy of production.
People forget from that one band, school band, you had the Gabriel career, the Collins, the Mechanics career, and then you put songs together. This is the key. You see a list of songs and you kind of go, In the Air Tonight, Invisible Touch, Living Years, Biko, and you kind of go, that's a great combination of songwriting. And so in a way, this documentary tries to sort of cement that a little bit. Because I meet people still these days who say to me, you mean you're the Mike and the Mechanics? They don't tie it in all the time. So in a way, this documentary, I think, helps do that.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Mike Rutherford and all your favorite artists.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, it's your boy AD. Can't nobody rock a body better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior. Delivering and giving your music to savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD. Can't nobody rock a body better than me.
Alrighty then. Megyn Kelly, like Donald Trump, refuses to apologize for what went down at the GOP debate this past week just gone by. I kind of don't see that she should. Yeah, she went after him, but you know what? She was throwing him the hard questions early on in a very softball arena. Would he rather get those tough questions that were definitely going to be asked about some rather glaring red flags? I don't know what the case may be. But he was going to get those tough questions that he got from Megyn Kelly at some stage in the proceedings. Like, if you think Hillary was going to let him slide on that stuff, if he makes it to the point where he's debating Hillary, well, you're sorely mistaken. So I kind of thought it was useful. It was like, you know what it was? It was like the scene at the end of 8 Mile, where Eminem has already run himself down so far. His opponent in the battle rap has nothing left to come at him with. That's really what's been done. Trump's getting the big stuff out of the way early, thanks to Megyn Kelly. He didn't see it that way, and a lot of the world doesn't see it that way. But I was like, I thought it was on purpose. I thought it was like, hey, we're going to like get this difficult stuff out of the way first so that you don't have to deal with it with Hillary later on down the road. That way, you're a more electable candidate. I honestly thought it was part of some diabolical. Wow. The coffee has not yet kicked in today. I honestly thought it was some part of some diabolical plan to give Trump an easier ride further down the line. He didn't see it that way. I mean, he's mad. He's not apologizing. Megyn Kelly's mad. She's not apologizing. Oh, and the ratings. Oh, the ratings. They're soaring. We'll get to all that in just a little bit. Right now, though, let's take a look at our events of today in our segment, My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair. Certainly not balanced. Concept 714. Super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhauser. How are you, and what is going on in the world? Actually, Funkhauser, you went on you internet dated last night, didn't you?
Yeah. I did internet date. It was, it was fun. I saw some comedy.
Did you laugh?
I did. She wanted to know. Oh man, I can't even repeat the joke. But after I came home, she sent me a text message and wanted to know why I laughed at a certain joke about a phallic behavior and the Marilyn Manson 1990s rumor about being able to do something. I laughed very hard about the joke about it, and then when I got home, she said, "What's so funny about that?"
Oh, yeah, I never really thought of it that way, but going to comedy early on in a courtship is a dicey game because, say you laugh at something they find to be unbelievably offensive.
See, if you laugh at everything, though, then you can get away with it.
I was just there to laugh. But if the guy really tickles your funny bone with a joke about rape or abortion, you're really testing the mettle of the relationship that you might be entering into a lot of the time. Like, what kind of sense of humor do you have? And that's the thing, that'd be difficult. Like, I have a sense of humor that, well, I like to think of myself as a kind guy with a bit of an unkind sense of humor. Like, I hear things that are absolutely horrific and politically incorrect in the extreme, and I don't believe them to be true, but I sometimes believe them to be truly funny. And so I like to think that you can laugh at a joke without feeling like you've been tarred with the same brush as the political or social ideology that produced the joke. Sometimes something's just funny and clever and you laugh at it, even though it is in theory on paper unbelievably wrong and has nothing to do with what you actually believe. But the idea of being with someone who can't kind of go along for that ride and just laugh at something that's funny is, that's a tough one. Did you see her making upset faces at any risque humor?
No. She's a trooper. She's a sport, man. I think the joke is the text message is sort of a jokey text message. Funny that you would laugh at that thing.
I know that rumor about Marilyn Manson, how he had a rib removed so he could,
So the guy said, everybody here, all the guys here, I'm sure, have and I laughed. I don't deny it. Everybody here, all the guys have
So
and she wanted to know why it was so funny.
The guy who originated that joke was Bill Hicks, who said, ladies, if it was possible for a guy to himself in that way, you would be here alone, looking at an empty stage.
Yeah.
All right, then. Moving right along.
Speaking of Kylie Jenner made a donation to a children's hospital for her 18th birthday.
Concept 714. Weird things get you aroused.
The king of segues, baby.
Oh, when a Kardashian turns 18 and makes a large donation to a children's hospital, I go wild. Yeah, but no, she turned 18, which is good because it means she can finally, for the first time ever, flaunt her sexuality, and also kind of cool because she celebrated her birthday by making a donation to a children's hospital. In other news about Jenner's benefiting humanity, no, that's it.
The only piece.
Anybody, by the way, using this to make a generosity joke deserves to be punched in the head repeatedly. Go on, what else?
Wow. Kim and Kanye reportedly named their unborn boy Easton.
East and West. So who needs a baby naming book when you got a compass? Not them.
Do you think they just have like a big map like in their house and they're just looking around and like, what should we name the kids? Like, man, I don't or they ask Siri and she's like, head west, head north.
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason why they're only geographically inclined to name.
So wait a minute. So it wasn't a joke? My mom said it was a joke.
No, not a joke.
Is it real?
It's true. When you told me yesterday, I thought it was a joke too, and then I was like, "You're like, hey, my mom told me this really funny joke about Kim and Kanye's kid." I was like, "Oh."
Actually, my mom Facebooked me right after. She goes, "It's not a joke."
What's interesting is, like, love him or loathe him, Kanye West is a very, very creative individual, both musically and lyrically, and he definitely thinks outside the box in terms of, pretty much all of his output. Definitely sort of like a free, unfettered thinker that lets his mind wander to some interesting creative place, hence his enormous collection of Grammys. But when it comes to naming his own kids, he's like, North, Easton. Like, just come on. You really can't do better than that? Maybe it's been ghostwriter this whole time.
Sunshine coming my way. Nothing's gonna change how I feel today. Nothing's gonna get in the way of my perfect day. Perfect day. Sunshine coming my way. Nothing's gonna change how I feel today. Nothing's gonna get in the way of my perfect day. Perfect day.
iHeartRadio puts the spotlight on Jim Morrison.
We have constructed pyramids in honor of our escaping. This is the land where the Pharaoh died.
James Douglas Morrison was born on December 8, 1943, in Melbourne, Florida. His father was a rear admiral in the U.S. Navy, a strict authoritarian. Morrison's father was probably a major source of the outlandish rebellion that his son later acted out on stage. Morrison moved to the West Coast to study film and theater at UCLA in 1964. He became infatuated with the poetry of William Blake and the writings of philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, and he gradually drifted away from school to work on his poetry and experiment with drugs, particularly LSD.
Time to live in the scattered sun.
In 1965, Morrison so greatly impressed film school classmate and local blues band keyboardist Ray Manzarek with his early attempts at lyric writing that the two decided to form a band. Robbie Krieger and John Densmore were soon recruited from the Psychedelic Rangers. The name was Morrison's idea, taken from Aldous Huxley's book, The Doors of Perception, and the Doors were born.
Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Doors coming up.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. It's kind of like an elephant is on my chest. I feel like I'm choking. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many.
I feel like a fish with no water.
Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council. Council.
Now, someone who everybody wants to punch in the face. AD on the radio.
so let's roll through what remains of the news, shall we? What else is going on in the world? Concept 714.
Well, let's see. Oh, yeah. Stephen Colbert's first late show guest will be George Clooney.
Have you seen Stephen Colbert not be the guy from the Colbert Report, where he's just a guy, like an actor, like an improv actor, like someone who got his start in the Groundlings or Second City or whatever sketch comedy troupe he was part of? Have you ever seen him not be that character before?
I don't know if he... Well, I know he was in a show called Strangers with Candy. Do you remember that show?
No, I never saw that.
Yeah, Strangers with Comedy Central. He played a teacher, but he was just Stephen Colbert as a teacher. Like he wasn't he didn't have like a British accent or anything like that. It was just him. Why do you ask?
Only because I saw him for the first time the other day being Stephen Colbert, the guy, as opposed to Stephen Colbert from the Colbert Report, the O'Reilly clone. Well, the O'Reilly send-up, I suppose, is really what he was doing the whole time. And Stephen Colbert is he's just this guy. He's like a vaguely funny sort of like improv comedy SNL type guy, and it's very unsettling to see him not be the guy that made him famous. And it's a bold move to give him the Late Show. And I'm going to guess, because this was my question, is he going to host it as Stephen Colbert from the Colbert Report? Is he going to be is he going to be playing a character the whole time, or is he just going to lay back and be himself? We don't really know if he's going to lay back and be himself or what, but it's a bold move to give him that gig, based on, nobody knows that side of him, or at least very few people know that side of him. And so it's like a really untested quantity that's going on that show if he's just going to be him as opposed to playing the Colbert character. That's an interesting one. But yeah, his first guest is going to be George Clooney. So watch out, Jimmy Fallon's young viewers. 2 middle-aged white guys are coming your way.
The producers of the Mindy Project say that even though they're moving to Fox to Hulu, things won't change much.
Yeah, the Mindy Project. Going from Fox to Hulu. So, I guess things won't change much. They were not watching the Mindy Project on Fox, and now they'll not watch the Mindy Project on Hulu as well. Same deal. Did you ever watch the Mindy Project?
I caught the 1 or 2 episodes.
Did you tune in for the one all about butt sex?
Was there really one all about butt sex?
Yeah, there was.
I think I would have watched that one.
Had you been previously aware, yes.
But no, it's not a great show. I don't see how or why. Well, I see the why, but if you're not going, if people aren't going to watch on one of the biggest platforms in television, they're not going to watch it in an obscure website. You know what I mean? That's just my...
It's interesting. Like, you really do get these characters that are so beloved, that are so awesome, that you like so much. Like, I loved her character on The Office. I really, really did. But the idea of a whole show of that, I just can't. It's not. And I don't know if we'd become familiar with her in a different way than The Office, where she was like this kooky sort of like tertiary character. I don't know if we would have... Because I watched the Mindy Project a couple times, and the first 10 minutes in, I was like, I've had a gut full of this broad. Like, I'm not used to her in such large doses. And I wonder if we hadn't been fed bite-sized pieces of Mindy Kaling by The Office, if we'd be more open to watching a full 28 and a half minutes of her. I don't know. That's an interesting contradiction.
There's a show called Arrested Development. Have you seen that show?
Yeah,
okay.
I love that show.
Tobias was offered a spinoff, right?
Right.
And he refused it. David Cross refused it because he understands that his character could not carry an entire. It would just be, jokes about this and that, and he understands that his character could not carry an entire show, right? And that he's only good in small doses. That's what makes him so funny, right?
Did you see what was the names are going to escape me now, but the increasingly poor decisions of
Margaret. Todd Margaret.
Yeah, the increasingly poor decisions of Todd Margaret, which had him and what's the guy that plays Job called? I forget.
Will Arnett.
Will Arnett, yeah, it was like him and Will Arnett, and he's kind of a big deal in England, and I think the show was shot for English television, and it's done well, like 3 or 4 seasons worth on English TV, and it's hilarious. But yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, and he plays this kind of pathetic, losery guy on that show. similar to his Tobias character in that he's just like completely hapless and not in touch with what's actually going on in the world. But a whole sort of like series of Tobias would be very, very difficult to take. All those characters on Arrested Development, an entire show based solely around them would be very difficult to take. I think it's the jumping from person to person. Like if Job got his own show, that would wear you out in about half an episode. And, yeah. Did you get through the second season of Arrested Development?
I watched every single season, including the new episodes. I am a Arrested Development fanatic. I love that show.
I loved the first series, loved it. One of my favorite things ever. I just gave up 2 episodes into the second series.
Yeah.
It just didn't, I don't know why, it didn't hold me, and I wanted to love it. I went in being like, yes, this is going to be awesome, and then, not so much.
They you know what, he's trying to be too artsy with it. Like the episodes weren't released in a linear fashion. They were just scattered because he wanted to do this obscure thing. And I was like, look, man, the show is obscured enough already. Like you don't need to mess with the lineup of the actual episodes. But not the greatest, but I mean the first 3 seasons were amazing.
Yeah. Yep, indeed. What else?
Well, what else we got? Oh, Boy George is shooting a reality show.
Boy George, Culture Club. Do you really want to hurt me? That guy, he's got a reality show.
Yes.
Thus continuing the trend of giving reality shows to people who are the least connected to it.
Yep.
That guy. Did you see when he did jail time? I can't remember what it was for.
I
Maybe
remember
it was
what
like
it was
drunk
for.
drive. Was it meth? Oh wait, no. There was a gay prostitute involved.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. How did that go?
If I'm not mistaken, did not Boy George try to pick up a prostitute at a like a truck stop, and it was like an undercover cop or something like that?
Maybe something like that. But instead of, I think he did. Did he do jail time?
I don't know if he did jail time. He's a celebrity. I doubt it.
But he had to. Well, yeah, no. I mean, I can honestly say, if Boy George had to go to prison, he would probably not be safe. But either that, or he'd have a really, really good time. I don't know, one or the other. But I don't know if he did any prison time. But he did. If you Google it, there's pictures of Boy George in a bright orange vest with a yellow reflective strip, picking up trash by the side of the highway.
No
it's
way.
Funny. Yeah.
That's funny, dude.
To Google. What else?
John Stamos once tried to fire the Olsen twins from Full House.
Yeah, he didn't, of course. And the rest is history. A small piece of history that no one really gives a crap about, but history nevertheless. What else?
People are still talking about that woman who ran a marathon. What? A marathon without a tampon to take a stand against period shaming.
Yep, in the wake of Donald Trump suggesting that Megyn Kelly was menstruating during the debates. This woman ran a marathon without a tampon to take a stand against period shaming. And after she crossed the finish line, Donald Trump congratulated Megyn for such a great run.
So is she also against hygiene and infections and just,
I don't know,
just pure basic human decency?
All I know is that, she's kind of got a spotlight on her. She's got a spotlight on her, which means, if you're a runner that gets sort of like a bunch of public attention, there's a very good chance that you're going to come across some lucrative product sponsorships out of all this. And it would probably be the first ever no rags to riches story in the history of mankind.
Wow.
Yeah, see what I did there?
I like it. Hulk Hogan turned 62 today, by the way. Thought you might like to know that.
Gonna go out on a limb and guess his birthday cake, not chocolate.
You're on fire today, my friend.
One more piece of news, and then let's get into Megyn Kelly refusing to apologize. Go on.
Okay, Pipes excavator from Shakespeare Garden tested positive for marijuana.
Yeah, the Bard, the guy that a lot of people regard as being the greatest writer of all time. Pipes were removed from his garden that tested positive for marijuana. Finally explains his lesser-known play, McBizzle. People making a big deal about it, but I don't think there's that much there. Sounds like much ado about nothing. And you are welcome, literature geeks. All right. Let's talk for a moment, if we may, in the time that we have remaining about Megyn Kelly. I got a tweet from Scott, who went on the record saying that what happened is Rupert Murdoch is unleashing his drones on Donald Trump. And I can kind of sort of see that because Donald Trump doesn't kowtow to anybody. But the media machine that is Fox Well, it's good at getting politicians in its pocket on the right because it can go, hey, we're Fox News. We're going to get behind you and things are going to go well. And then you're going to owe us. But Donald Trump is a bit of a maverick, doesn't fit into that mold. So I could understand the idea that Murdoch had Megyn Kelly go after him. There are those who think Donald Trump should apologize to Fox News, makes Megyn Kelly for criticizing how she hosted last week's Republican debate, especially his comment about how she had, quote, blood coming out of her wherever. In true Trump fashion, though, Donald thinks Megyn should apologize to him for being too hard on him. That's not going to happen. On her show, The Kelly File, yesterday, Megyn said, quote, Trump, who is the front runner, will not apologize, and I certainly will not apologize for doing good journalism. So I'll continue doing my job without fear or favor. Meanwhile, Fox News boss Roger Ailes actually called Donald to talk this out, and Trump tweeted that Ailes assured him that Fox will treat him fairly. Ailes issued a statement backing that up, but adding that he supports Megyn Kelly 100%. Unless Megyn Kelly went rogue during that debate, it seems like Fox told her to take him down. The problem is, at least for the moment, Trump simply cannot be killed. So I think Fox has to make its peace with him. Because if he ends up being the candidate, they've done the Republican Party no favors by ripping him apart. And if he's not, they have to make sure that he falls in behind whoever is, because a third-party run hands 2016 to the Democrats. It really does. I don't know. Trump is this unstoppable behemoth of I'm right and I don't care what anybody else thinks, and it doesn't affect him in any way, shape, or form. His great gift is the fact that he does not care. He doesn't care. He really doesn't care. Call it delusional, call it self-possessed, call it laser-focused, whatever spin you want to put on it. Trump's great gift is that he doesn't care. He would have been skewered alive by the press if he was anyone else for some of the things that he said and done. But he has this impenetrable armor of knowing in his own mind that he's right and not caring. Hey, you said some horrible things about women. Yeah, whatever. I mean, come on. Like anyone's really going to take that seriously. We joke. We have fun. What's next? Bazinga. It's over and done with. It's crazy. But I stick by my earlier assertion. Whether they intended to take him down and rip him to shreds, or whether she was just doing her job, Megyn Kelly, I think they did Trump a huge favor by getting the very, very difficult questions out of the way first. When those words about the war on women come out of Megyn Kelly's mouth on Fox as you're surrounded by other candidates on the right, all of whom want the right to win, well then, you're amongst the closest thing you're going to have to friends if you're Donald Trump. And getting those questions out of the way early on while you're surrounded by people that want you to win. Not a bad way to go with it. And when Hillary asks him the question, hey, what about this war on women thing and some of the stuff on your Twitter feed? He'd be like, I did that with Megyn Kelly a really long time ago. You want me to get you video of it? No? Otherwise, let's move on with the next question. I got to be honest, I think they did him a favor.